Way of the Elements Monk is probably low-key one of the best burst damage subclasses. Well, if you build it right. And to celebrate the upcoming Avatar: The Last Airbender movie, and because Avatar was such a huge part of my childhood, our childhood, I believe, let me try to make a legit Avatar Aang build. Yes, with all 4 element shenanigans included. And yeah, we all know how underwhelming the Elements Monk is overall. So this might be one of the most challenging builds I've ever made. Hi guys, welcome back to the video, where I make the impossible build possible. Nuh-uh. This won't be just a build on the internet made from some random cherry picking from all over the place in the name of character creation. Absolutely no way! I promise this'll be a working damage dealer build, in fact, one of the best, really. But the thing is, you know how expensive those abilities are and how underwhelming they are, so how the heck is this 4 elements thing even supposed to work? So here's what we're gonna do. We'll split the build into 2 playstyles. First is burst single target damage. We'll stack as many damage riders as possible, then pair them with a reliable way to land critical hits for the biggest kaboom burst damage possible, picking off enemies one by one. Second, AoE damage for foot soldiers, mobs, or any fight where you find yourself surrounded by multiple enemies in a wide open battlefield. So let's just start with 5 levels in the way of the Elements Monk. Naturally, for your extra attack, let's grab Fangs of the Fire Snake, our source of fire-based attack, our fire bending. Then Chill of the Mountain, basically the monk version of Ray of Frost, as our ice-based attack, or so-called water bending. These will be our main single target tools, even though we'll mostly lean on Fangs of the Fire Snake to chase burst damage, since it is the strongest feature the Way of the Elements Monk has to offer. But let's halt that for a moment. We'll proceed with a quick turn for a Warlock dip to grab Hex at level 6 right after Monk 5 for extra attack. But why sacrifice 1 level, which means 1 key point in a monk build, for just an extra 1d6 per hit? For those who don't know, I would say it is actually everything for an element monk build. Here's why. Exclusive in BG3, every hit from Fangs of the Fire Snake is treated as 2 separate damage instances, your unarmed strike and the fire damage. That means Hex procs on both, giving you 2d6 extra necrotic damage per blast, and that is fantastic! Nice. For an underwhelming subclass like the Element Monk, that's a massive boost. Think of it like features like Sneak Attack, Divine Smite, or Hunter's Mark only added once per hit. We get it twice on Hex. The same goes for other damage riders like the Sparkle Hands Gloves or other damage rider items. And when it crits, and that is how Hex puts Element Monk up on the leaderboard. So here's how we're gonna play it early game in Act 1. First up, make sure you've come prepared. Keep your eyes on your remaining key points, spell slots, and most importantly, make sure you have reliable source of critical hits, whether from items, tadpoles, or your party spells like Hold Person and Hold Monster, because every blast costs 1 key point. Landing a crit makes a huge difference. I'd say the same for other burst damage builds too, I guess. We wanna get the most value out of every key point we spend, even enough to burst any foot soldiers in a single turn. I'd say pick the ones with the biggest HP first, then get back to safety and protect your concentration, because at this point, we only have 1 spell slot. So once again, if you're running this build, I highly recommend bringing a reliable source of guaranteed crits, whether that's from your spellcaster with the Hold Person or Hold Monster, or from your itemization. On to our next playstyle, we'll progress to Monk 8, but before we get into it, let's rewind the video a bit. As we level up, we'll pick up Fist of the Broken Air as our airbending technique and our main pushing tool. Then we'll grab Water Whip for another source of water bending and our pulling tool. Both can cast prone. It's a bit shame Larian split Water Whip into separate pull and prone abilities instead of combining them like Fist of the Broken Air. So if you don't feel like spending 2 key points to pull someone, you can always use Chill of the Mountain to slow them down. Anyways, we've got our push and pull mechanics covered. You know where this is going, right? Next up, we'll multiclass the rest of our journey with 3 levels in Druid. Apart from getting more first level spell slot for Hex, we're mainly here for Spike Growth as our quote-unquote Earth Bending. Yes, we are going Cheese Grader playstyle on an Element Monk build. Wait, you said Earth Bending. I know, technically this doesn't really represent an earth bending technique, but bro, we're making the best of what we can get. For every 5 feet of enemy movement, Spike Growth deals 2d4 piercing damage. Honestly, playing a druid at early levels can be a little too OP sometimes, and we are going to force them to take that damage by either pushing them or pulling them back through those spikes, potentially triggering twice or even more. Talking about war crimes, on top of that, if the enemy gets knocked prone, makes them even harder to escape. Meanwhile, you can just stand safe and sound on the other side of the spike growth. However, we all know playing around ground-based difficult terrain comes at a cost, especially in the late game. Unless you combine it with cloud effect like darkness or fog cloud, enemies can just still jump straight through it, get in your face, break your concentration, or shoot you from a distance. That's why pairing this with spells like Hunger of Hadar, Darkness, Fog Cloud, and other vision denying effects works really well. Again, another reason why this build is heavily dependent on your party. That said, bro, don't forget you're still a squishy monk. Maintaining concentration is such a huge responsibility. So what's the solution? Hold my beer, said Circle of the Land. Besides this subclass fitting the whole Ang vibe, being able to refresh 1 second level spell slot per long rest will be our second safety net. It might not feel like much, but definitely helps when you keep losing concentration on spike growth. Alternatively, Spore Druid is also a great option. If you want more damage output, Symbiotic Entity gives you an extra 1d6 necrotic damage on every blast as long as you can maintain the temporary HP. Plus, you can make another attempt to attack with your reaction, which a nice little damage bump. Even though maintaining that temporary HP can be tricky with only 12 HP to protect your extra damage, your tank and support characters will have a lot of homework to keep you out of danger. As a little bonus, don't forget to grab guidance and resistance from your druid levels. It helps to become a decent party face, making it possible to roleplay this build as Ang. Back to character selection screen, let's max out Dexterity for armor class and initiative, Wisdom for more AC, since I assume you wanna stick with Ang's team, so no armor, just monk clothes. Then 15 con for your concentration and HP, and 10 charisma to avoid negative charisma checks, in case this is your TAF. For strength, just chuck an elixir. For those who prefer Dex Monk over Strength Monk, bro, I get it. But the game is basically forcing us to be a strength-based monk because of Tavern Brawler. In fact, we cannot miss out on the bonus damage. At 20 strength, it becomes 10 damage, which is practically the same bonus damage as Great Weapon Master or a Sharpshooter. As for the next feat, just pick whatever suits you. I recommend mobile to avoid opportunity attacks while moving around, and extra movement giving us a chance to get behind the walls, behind your party, basically get to safety to protect your concentration or temporary HP. Polar Master is also a good choice. Not only does it give you another chance to attack with your reaction, but what I love about it is when you're standing at the edge of your spike growth, you can bash one enemy trying to approach you with this legendary stick. All credit goes to our lovely companion granny, Jaheira. Staff of the Ram is the perfect choice for this build and fits the character theme perfectly. It can apply a stun effect, well, if enemies fail their saves. The ability to remotely knock someone back in a turn is simply an amazing combination between the two. We can also apply Silalah bonus damage with our bonus action for an entire combat. Same thing goes for one of my favorite staffs, Nature's Snares, especially early in Act 1. Locking down one enemy every turn with Entangled, preventing them from moving while giving you advantage on every attack is just amazing. With Polar Master feat, those staffs also can use the bonus action attack from the feat. Another great weapon choice is the legendary Sorrow. This is a legendary weapon in my eyes. Having Thorn Whip as a bonus action is just too good. Gives you another pull tool to work with your spike growth. Other than that, Kushigo Boots and Shadow Cloud Ring, since we're chasing critical hits, Killer Sweetheart and Surgeon Subjugation Amulet can also be essential in case those are free. Finally, add some gloves that boost your damage riders and you're good to go. Oh, and also soul coins. Yes, optimally a damage dealing barehanded benefits the most when built on my darling muscle mommy Kalak. We can't sleep on that extra 1d4 fire damage. Also soul branding for Mintara. A d4 bonus damage is always handy. And that concludes the build. Thank you for reaching this far. I'd say these two playstyle can be a whole separate builds, but I wanted to make this one more appealing to the whole Avatar fans. And after all the testing, I confidently this is the best representation of Avatar Aang you can bring into your next playthrough. 4 elements, push and pull control, but most importantly the actual damage. Fire, water, earth, and air. And that's it for the video. That's all I've got. I'll see you next time.